Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to the show where we chat everything in the world of movie news. This is Insider Chatter. I'm your host, Mike Thomas. Joining me, of course, is my co-host, Nate Richard. He knows movies. Nate, it's been a couple weeks. How you been, bro?
I've been good. Yesterday, I watched two movies I'd never seen for the first time. I watched Casino, the Martin Scorsese one. I really, really like that. Is it basically just cut from the same exact cloth as Goodfellas? Yeah, but it's still Martin Scorsese cutting from the same cloth as Goodfellas, so it's still great. Right. And then I watched the Robert Altman movie, The Player, which, have you heard of that one?
I have, yeah. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I would recommend it. It's very, very good. The Seth Rogen show, The Studio, they pulled a lot from that movie. Even the Bryan Cranston character in that show is named after the main character in The Player. So I really love that too.
Nice. Have you seen the movie In the Heights?
I have seen In the Heights.
Okay. The main plot of In the Heights is trying to survive a massive heat wave. I feel like we've been living in the Heights the last week. I've just been like trying not to die the last few days. Even now it's like 95 degrees, but the heat index is like, oh, it's 110. It's like, no, I can't survive. So
it's been brutal here too.
Yeah, I'm with you that I've been watching a lot. I've gotten a bunch of screeners from Crunchyroll, so we've got some anime stuff that I can't talk about yet, but I could probably talk about next week. That was really fun. I saw Jurassic World. We'll talk about that later in the show. And oh gosh, there's so much stuff that happened this week. The bear came back. We'll get into all that later. But we've got a lot of news to get into. This first one is a doozy. Bond.
It is Bond. So there is a huge news story that for a bit, like people were like, this might be the biggest movie news story of the year, was that the Broccoli family, Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, I think they're step siblings actually, but they for the long time had full control over Bond, especially, creatively. And I guess, and I'm trying to put this like nicely, they were very controlling over it. If you remember, No Time to Die was originally, they made a whole announcement that Danny Boyle was going to do it, and then he walked away from it. And when Amazon fully acquired MGM, there was a lot of turmoil because the Broccoli's are more artist forward. They're like, we don't want TV spin-offs or spin-off movies or anything.
You don't want to dilute the brand, No. You want to still have that reverence. Even though we're going into Bond number 26, you still want to have respect for this IP, I get it, for sure.
But Amazon, being the powerhouse that they are, they signed a deal with them. So they basically ceded all of their creative control over the franchise. And a few weeks later, the two new producers put in charge of the franchise, who I actually thought were good choices, were Amy Pascal, who, used to be head at Sony, but she's produced Spider-Man, a lot of the Spider-Man movies, Challengers, Little Women, and David Heyman, who is a very prolific British producer who's produced all the Harry Potter movies. He's produced Paddington. And shortly after that, it was revealed that they were approaching Alfonso Cuarón, the Oscar winner behind Roma, Children of Men, Gravity, and he worked with Heyman on the third Harry Potter movie. There's rumors he was going to do it. That didn't work out. So last week, since we didn't have a show last week, Puck Newsletter released the official shortlist of directors, and that included Denis Villeneuve, who, Dune, Blade Runner, Sicario. It included Edgar Wright from Baby Driver, Cornetto, and Scott Pilgrim. It included Jonathan Nolan, who works a lot with Amazon. He does their Fallout. He directed several episodes of Fallout. He co-created Westworld. Then Paul King, who directed the first two Paddington movies and Wonka.
I want to just take a pause for a second and talk about this short list because we didn't talk about it last week.
Yeah.
What tone were they going for with this movie?
I think they were seeing like a bunch of, I think Paul King and Edgar Wright were probably going to do like a more goofy, like MCU almost kind of style to it. Not like
slightly
MCU.
Yeah, slightly more classic Bond. We're kind of leaning
Yeah.
back into the camp. I would have loved to see those. That's not what we ultimately got. But I
Yeah.
would have loved to see Edgar Wright's James Bond
Yeah.
just to see how
Oh
crazy it
my
would have
God.
been.
I would have loved that. I saw someone complain, it's like, Edgar Wright hasn't done a true action movie besides Baby Driver. I'm like, Scott Pilgrim and Hot Fuzz are still like action movies.
Oh yeah,
You can't tell me otherwise.
Scott Pilgrim's literally a comic book movie. So
yeah. And the other name on that list was a guy who had long been rumored, was Edward Berger, who did Conclave and All Quiet on the Western Front, and is attached to like so many freaking movies right now. It's insane.
Yeah.
But I remember we were talking about it for a bit, and you were like, oh, Edgar Wright would be sick. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think it would ever be him or Denis. It's probably going to be Jonathan Nolan, or it's going to be Edward Berger. Turns out I was wrong. Denis Villeneuve is going to be directing the new Bond movie. It is official. Amazon put out this whole big statement about it. He was like, I've been a Bond fan, my entire life. This is a dream come true for me. It's like, holy shit. I mean,
right.
It's insane. We did know, though, that part of the deal is he does not get final cut over this movie, which I don't know. And then first, before we get into the casting shortlist, I want your thoughts on it.
I mean, Denis is one of my favorite directors working right now, right? Like, I love the first two Dune movies. I absolutely adored Sicario and Blade Runner 2049. And so I'm really interested to see his take. Like we were just saying before, right? Going with an Edgar Wright, that is kind of suggesting the type of tone that movie probably would have been. Going with Denis, this feels like we're leaning more into what we just got from the Craig films with Skyfall or Casino Royale, So I'm interested to see what he does to differ from the last iteration of the character. But I'm here for it. Him not getting final cut, I feel like is a little worrying, but I get it. And I don't think he would have signed on for it unless their like visions didn't align, Like I don't think he'd sign up for this and then they just ruin the movie and we get Josh Trank and Fant Four Stick or Zack Snyder and Justice League type of situation, So I'm here for it though. I'm excited.
Yeah. I think especially after like the Danny Boyle drama with No Time to Die, I think every single director, and Denis is a very powerful filmmaker now. He is A-list. I know he doesn't have an Oscar. It's still a crime. He wasn't nominated for either of the Dune movies, but he knew that was definitely part of the deal, and I think that's just something he was willing to give up just to do a Bond movie. So I think you're right about that. I think Denis is a more diverse filmmaker than people give him credit for, because a lot of his movies are very grim or dark or very, very intense. So yeah, you're right. It's probably going to be more like the Daniel Craig movies. But I mean, Blade Runner, 2049, and Arrival, and Dune, they're all sci-fi. They could not be more different from each other.
Oh yeah.
Or Sicario, like that's completely different. Prisoners, Enemy, which is probably his most artsy English language movie. That is the only English language movie of his that I haven't seen.
Yeah. Arrival's such a good movie, dude. Oh my gosh, I need to rewatch it.
It is. It might be, if it weren't for Dune, it might be my favorite of his.
Yeah, like I'm going between Arrival, Dune, and Blade Runner every other day if I think about this too long. I do wonder if this is a chance for him to like break out of the same tone, I guess, because you're right, those are very different types of movies. They all still are very somewhat serious, and I feel like Edgar Wright's wouldn't be nearly as serious. That's why I'm wondering if he's gonna kind of diverge a little bit more into some of the camp that we're kind of used to from earlier Bond films. Maybe meet in the middle, like you were saying before, like an MCU type of deal.
I will say, I'll correct myself. Arrival is not a grim movie. I think that's probably his most hopeful optimistic movie. Yes, it's very sad.
Yeah.
But it's about just embracing the future, even though tragedy is going to come. Like, it's a very optimistic movie compared to the rest.
Oh
But yeah, I am curious. I would assume he's filming this after he does Dune Messiah.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, because that I think is filming like this summer, and he's going to be working on that for a while. So I don't think we would even get this movie until like 2028. So everybody was excited. It's like, oh man, we are so back. Bond is back. Oh my god. And then Variety reported something, I think the next day or 2 days later, about the actor shortlist.
Yep.
And this is a part that, unfortunately, Denis is not a part of. So it had long been rumored that it would be Aaron Taylor-Johnson being the next Bond, which I remember when that was initially rumored, I wasn't like a fan of him at all. He's been rumored even before No Time to Die came out.
Which is so interesting to me. I don't know why he was attached to this for so long.
I don't know.
No shade to Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Honestly, that's one of the first news videos we did here on the Chatter After channel. And I'm just like, why? Even then I was like, why?
But I mean, he's really grown on me as an actor. Like, he was great in his smaller role in Tenet. He's the best part of Bullet Train. He's really great in 28 Years Later. Like, I think he's a great actor. Yeah, Kraven happened. Yeah, I thought he was terrible in Godzilla and Age of Ultron. But like everything else he's done, I've always really liked him. But that's not who they're going with. They want somebody even younger. Even though Aaron is only 35. That's very young. I mean, you have Pedro Pascal, who's 50, playing a superhero.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can go 35, and he looks young, but no, they want younger. So they gave us a list of 3 names. Those include Jacob Elordi, who's Australian and from Euphoria. No. Harris Dickinson, who he was in Triangle of Sadness. He was in Baby Girl. He just directed a movie that premiered at Cannes. And he's going to be John Lennon in the Sam Mendes, speaking of Bond, in the Sam Mendes Beatles quadrilogy or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, okay. And then Tom Holland, Spider-Man.
Nathan Drake himself. So there's a lot to unpack here. First off, Tom Holland, I guess we can start there because he's the biggest name. I just fear that we're running into the typecast situation where I don't know if anybody will see James Bond or if they'll just see Peter Parker. That's my fear. Tom Holland is a good actor. Yeah. He's made some terrible movies outside of Spider-Man, but he's never the problem in them. So I don't have a problem with Tom Holland himself specifically, but like even in this picture that I have on the screen here for the audio listeners, if you're on Spotify, you can still see the picture. Fun tip. Even in this photo, though, I just see Peter Parker in a suit.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know what you do to fix that.
He's like 29 right now. He looks eternally 21. So he's older than both of us, but he looks, I think he looks still like younger. Like, and I don't know.
He's got me by like a year.
I don't know if that's like me just seeing him as Spider-Man. I'm like, finally a believable high school Spider-Man after seeing Toby and Andrew play Steve Buscemi in the 30 Rock thing. But
I think part of it is just because he's Peter Parker, because I mean, again, him standing next to Jacob Elordi, they look like they're about the same, they're close to the same age, I'd say.
Yeah. But he's also way too short. He's like 5'4", 5'5".
Tom Holland has to be like 5'7", man. I don't think he's that short. Hold on.
Okay. I know he's short. I know he's shorter than his...
It's because he's standing next to Zendaya all the time. Hold on. He's 5'7".
Okay. That's still... Because, okay, I'm not going to dunk on short Canes because I'm also going to dunk on Jacob Elordi, who's way too tall. You don't want a hulking man playing Bond. You do not want an Australian. I'm not even British. You know, the patriot in me is like, nah, the British, we won't forget for Revolutionary War. You know it. But at the same time, I'm like, you gotta choose somebody from the English Isles. Like, you can be
Why?
Irish and be
I'm gonna be
Bond
that guy and say why.
because he's such a integral part to that culture. And I think Jacob Elordi, look, I've never seen Euphoria, nor do I plan to.
Yeah.
I've never really gotten his appeal. I mean, he's a good actor, but I just feel like that's like Twitter casting. Like that's like what a fangirl account would be like. It was like Jacob Elordi because he was so good in Saltburn and Euphoria. That's how I read it.
He's an okay actor. I've never been in love with his work. He hasn't had that role that really like captured me. I'm like, oh, he's got it. He's serviceable, and that's not what you want from Bond. I will say him being Australian doesn't bother me. I mean, we just had the last Superman was British, and the last two Spider-Men have been British, and so it's like, okay,
okay, but at the same time, British like Ireland and the UK, they have like the greatest lineup of like actors. Like that's the reason they sometimes take, to quote South Park, take our jobs.
They're stealing our jobs, dang it.
I mean, you could choose, and why does it have to be? I don't want to sound like I'm virtue signaling. I'm like, does he have to be just the white dude?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring that up, but since you did,
can.
I'm pretty sure there was a report like a year or two ago of like the people who were over or Bond at the time were just like, yeah, he's got to be a white guy, and that's why he's always just gonna be a white guy. You're right. That opens up the pool a lot more because there's a lot of great people of color who are British actors right now that are like taking over Hollywood that are really great, but they wouldn't meet the criteria apparently, which is problematic. But
yeah,
that's how we get back to the Tom Holland sphere of casting, where it's like, well, he's the hottest white British guy who can take on this role.
It's just because I feel like none of these actors, and I think Harris Dickinson is easily the best choice out of these three, but I'm still not like really sold on him. He's a great actor, and he's a massive cinephile, which I'm like, respect. You look that hot, and you know that much about cinema, like hell yeah, man. But I mean, like Regé-Jean Page, like I think he has a more Bond like quality to the way he carries himself than any of these three dudes, or Aaron Pierre. You know,
Aaron Pierre's Bond would have been so crazy if he didn't get cast as Jon Stewart.
Yeah, like it should have been Damson Idris as Jon Stewart, and then we got Aaron Pierre as Bond. Like,
I would have liked to live in that reality.
Exactly,
because that would have been insane. I know I was talking to you and a couple of our friends from Collider. And I was like, John Boyega, if we wanted to go slightly younger. He's a couple years older than Tom Holland. And I think he has good enough range to where he can fit in whatever direction they want to take the character to. If we wanted to go on the slightly younger side, because I'm pretty sure he's younger than John Page, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think he would be good. I think he has a lot of more range than people give him credit for. Because did you ever see They Clone Tyrone on Netflix?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
He was so good in that movie. And
he was good in that. He was good in The Woman King. He's not just Finn in Star Wars.
Yeah, I really, really like him. Like, it doesn't Dev Patel. I know Robert. That's like his dream cast. I'm
already sold. Dev Patel is probably he's probably it.
Again. He would be mine as well. My dream cast is still, even though he hasn't chosen the best roles recently, is Henry Golding from Crazy Rich Asians.
I'm so surprised that Henry Golding just does not get more work because he's so good, and it's just like, no, we're not going to do anything.
He has charisma up the wazoo, like, and he has everything that I think a Bond should have. Like, he just carries himself like a Bond, and it's like, oh, his first big like leading action role was Snake Eyes, which
Yeah.
Nobody remembers that movie, and nobody should because it was bad. But not his fault. That was just everything else in that movie. But yeah, this kind of dropped my anticipation down several pegs because I'm like, just give it to Aaron Taylor Johnson at that point. If he has to be white, just give it to Aaron Taylor Johnson because that's like the only thing I think people would be the more palatable, I guess.
I will say that I trust Denny as a filmmaker.
Yeah, but he doesn't get
And
a
so
say.
I know,
Yes.
but I'm saying like whoever they cast, one thing that we need to talk about for a second here, even though these aren't our choices for Bond,
Mhm.
these three dudes are good actors for the most part.
Yeah.
I think Elordi's probably the weakest of the three, but again, like I said before, he's serviceable. I don't think he'll be bad.
Besides Rosamund Pike, he was probably my favorite performance in Saltburn, which was a very flawed movie, but he played a convincing Brit in that movie, I will say. He's still not a natural Brit, so no Bond.
But if they end up going with either of these guys, I think the movie will be fine. They'll just have to win us over, but I think I trust Denny enough to be able to make something that would win us over. So like, it's not none of these guys are my first choice, but like if Tom Holland plays James Bond, I'll live with it. Get Zendaya to be a Bond girl, I guess, and that'll be funny.
Yeah. Somebody texted me, I don't know if it was in one of the group chats with you, of give Zendaya her own Ana de Armas moment. And like in No Time to Die with her as a Bond girl. I'm like, that would be like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm here for it. They're currently working on the Odyssey right now, right? I'm pretty sure with Christopher Nolan.
Yes.
The back-to-back if Tom Holland gets this role going from Nolan to Villeneuve. What a rebound for this kid.
I know.
We've got another movie, though, to talk about that
we're
excited about. We were talking in our last episode about Matt Reeves and the Batman and the script not being in yet. Well, good news. He finally finished it. He finally finished the script for the Batman Part 2. He posted on Twitter himself, Partners in Crime, parentheses, Fighters, with his co-write, Madison Tomlin.
Yeah.
We know that James Gunn himself has come out and said that he hasn't had a chance to read this script because he's doing press for Superman. He's like, I'm going to read it on the plane, hopefully, on my flight back. The only major piece of news from this is that if you zoom in real close here, it says The Batman Part 2, if you can make that out. I think that's the official title. The Batman Part 2, instead of just The Batman 2. That's not the most interesting piece of info, though, because he finished the script. Great. James Gunn has to approve it. Then we can hopefully shoot and get this going. Coming from Heat Vision's newsletter, Boris Kitt revealed a strange little piece of news where they were talking about this, and he said, because he was basically like, we don't have to ask them about the script for the Batman 2, but we do need to ask James Gunn about the Brave and the Bold movie because we're not convinced there is one. And Nate, I am not trying to start the Batman and DCU stuff again, but what does the Hollywood Reporter mean by we're not sure there is a Brave and the Bold?
I think it means Reeves verse is coming over because here's the thing. Let's say worst case scenario, Superman, I think it's going to make money regardless.
It's tracking
going to have
well.
a big opening weekend. But let's say it's not what audiences hope it's going to be. I think it will. I trust James Gunn. You know, it would be good if then they could just say, okay, no, actually, the DCU started with the Batman and the Penguin, something people loved and something people are super excited for.
That's fair. I mean,
it's a win-win.
It is a win-win. I'm interested also because Matt Reeves in his tweet says partners in crime. And on one hand, that's just, him and the co-writer. But it's also like, is this hinting at Dick Grayson being in this movie, which has been heavily rumored, the dynamic duo, being in the Batman 2? And if it is, because I've always said the easiest way to go about this is Matt Reeves movies are prequels. The Brave and the Bold will be present day Batman. So if this is a prequel and we're seeing Robin #1 in the Batman 2, we can jump forward and just say 10 years later, And that's when we get to whatever James Gunn wants to do with the character, because Robert Pattinson has been playing a Batman in his year 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think Pattinson has the range and the face to where he can still play younger, but also he can just play 40 if they need him to, because that's basically what he is. So if whatever the Hollywood Reporter is hinting at here, that can work. It also could just mean that there isn't a script yet for the Batman 2. I mean, The Brave and the Bold. But I think we already knew that, so why would they say it that way, you know?
It's had a director for 2 years now, and he got it after his movie tanked.
I still don't understand. How did Andy Muschietti... I don't even hate Andy Muschietti as like a filmmaker, but like, how did he get the Batman Brave and the Bold after The Flash? You know, like... Unless James Gunn was just like, yeah, we know that they kind of screwed you over, so we're going to ignore that ever happened and actually give you something good. Otherwise, it's like, you did not earn that with your previous DC movie.
No. I will correct myself a little bit, because I'm like, what if Superman is not what audiences wanted? I've been scrolling through Letterboxd and message boards and social media posts. Seems like the movie's very good. People are liking it, so...
Yeah, there was a few critic screenings and exhibitioner screenings for Superman. We could touch on that for a second. Yeah. Everybody's under NDA, but also everybody is like, oh, I just saw an awesome movie. I can't talk about it yet, though. And it's like, okay, you broke NDA, but I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, they're like, I can't say anything about the Superman movie.
Right.
These people are winking. I cried, and it's like, what?
Or Soups having like an out-of-body experience, and it's just like, okay, man, I'm glad you liked it. You're not the source I would take Superman reviews from, but I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's good that it seems like people are digging it.
For sure.
I'm glad. Because I feel like we would have seen a particular scooper being like, I told you guys it sucked, and I heard it sucked again. Not to name names.
Not to name names. We've got to get back. We got to leave the comic book sphere and get back into real cinema for a second with our next story. Hit me.
Again, I told you the feeling of we are so back. Oh, wait, no, it is so over. Yeah. I got a thing in my newsfeed. I had gotten back from a run on Wednesday, and they saw The Social Network Part 2 is in development at Sony. And I was like, holy crap. Like, oh my God. Aaron Sorkin is returning to write. And I'm like, good, that's a given. He's talked about how he's wanted to do it for years. And then I read, and he's also going to direct it. No Fincher. Sorry, he's tied up with Netflix. And I feel like I got a monkey's paw wish.
Seriously.
David Fincher, he's doing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 2, Cliff Booth, with a script by Tarantino. Awesome. But in turn, he's not doing Social Network 2, and we get the guy whose last movie was Being the Ricardos, that ends with Javier Bardem's Desi Arnaz being like, in a special thank you to J. Edgar Hoover for saving democracy. That's a line that happens in the movie. We get that guy who's doing the Social Network 2, who is also the guy who, to get a tad bit political, wrote in the New York Times last summer that Mitt Romney should replace Joe Biden in the election.
Yep, that happened.
So, look, Aaron Sorkin, incredible screenwriter. Social Network is like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 10. It has no right being as rewatchable as it is. And
seriously.
This sequel, it would be based on a Wall Street Journal thing called The Facebook Files, which was published in October 2021. It kind of dealt with how Facebook groups kind of led to the January 6th insurrection and all of the political misinformation regarding the 2020 election. But they say it's not going to be a Jan 6 movie, which good. I don't want to see Aaron Sorkin's take on that.
No.
It will get addressed, but it's more about the negative impact of Facebook. We don't know if Jesse Eisenberg is going to be back. I would assume he's going to. I think you're going to see him. I don't think you're going to see Justin Timberlake as Sean Parker again. I don't know if we're going to see Andrew Garfield as Eduardo again. I wish we could, but I don't think he really factors into the story. I think we're gonna get somebody cast as Elon Musk in this movie.
Yeah, that's inevitable.
I'm
That's
very
kind
curious.
of, not to cut you off for a second, but just like The Social Network is such a perfect movie and a
Mhm.
perfect cast. And the thing that always scared me about a sequel, even though I did want to see it, especially if Fincher would have been attached, is what you just said. Timberlake wouldn't factor into the story anymore.
No.
Andrew Garfield wouldn't factor into the story anymore. Especially if we're doing this off of like recent current events like January 6th and the 2020 election and all that stuff. It's just a completely different movie. And the fact that we even question if Jesse Eisenberg, like, I know Jesse Eisenberg would return as Mark Zuckerberg, but how much does Mark Zuckerberg himself factor into that film or that story that they're trying to tell? You know, that's where it's like, I don't know what we're really getting here. Like, it's going to say Social Network 2 in name, but I don't know if it's actually going to feel like a sequel to the original movie.
Oh, that's what the report said. They're not selling it as a direct sequel. It is a follow-up, yet they're going around saying it's called, at the Sony is calling it The Social Network Part 2. Like, that's what they're calling it. So it is a sequel.
Which, by the way, they should drop the. It'd be
Yeah,
cleaner.
they should. Absolutely. But I just don't think Sorkin has enough sauce as a director. Like, I liked Molly's Game. I just thought Trial of the Chicago 7. I was one of the defenders of that. I don't think it's like great. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I thought it was a really good movie. Being the Ricardos, I just hated. We were in my Christmas day. So family decided to watch that because COVID happened and we couldn't go on our usual Christmas Day trip to Michigan. So we watched Being the Ricardos.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. What if I told you that we also watched Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon that day, and the better movie was Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon.
I buy it. Being the Ricardos was not a good film.
No,
not a good film.
So it worries me. I wish. I get Fincher is tied up with Netflix. The only way this movie would happen is if it was at Netflix. And I think the thing with Fincher and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like Tarantino owns the rights to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Sony just distributed it.
Right.
It's not their IP. So Tarantino like sold Netflix that script. And Fincher's not going to leave Netflix. I don't know if I want this anymore. I'm curious.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same.
It's not. It's gonna, like I was just saying before, it's gonna feel like a completely different movie.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's just another standalone film with the Social Network as the title. And like you said, they're gonna have to cast Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and I don't want to live in that reality again.
I don't think Donald Trump is going to be I think you would have him as like archived footage. Like they had that Harvey Weinstein movie about the New York Times with Carey Mulligan a few years ago.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein, no one was cast as him in that. They used like archived like audio from the actual like phone calls for his comments. Like I think that's what we will get from Donald Trump. Like he'll appear on the TV.
That's still too much Donald Trump for my liking.
Yeah. But I keep shitting on Aaron Sorkin, and I think he's an incredible writer. I just think when he writes, and he needs a director on his side, because when he writes and directs something, his work isn't as good.
For sure.
Because again, Social Network, The West Wing, which is like one of the greatest shows of all time. He helped co-write Moneyball, which awesome movie. A Few Good Men, all-time classic. Like he's a great screenwriter. There's no argument. It's just I want a filmmaker that will have him on a leash. And like if it's not Fincher, I kind of wish it was like somebody like Bennett Miller, who was the guy who did Moneyball. And I'm like, that would get me excited. Like, because he has a Fincher-esque way of directing. Like that would get me excited. This is.
Yeah, like you said at the top of this one, this is very much a monkey's paw type of situation where it's like we wanted this, but that's not what we were looking for when we asked for it. We'll see. I mean, since he is writing it, maybe he has a very specific vision that will work out. That's us being optimistic, though. And again, just the subject matter is not, especially right now in the current climate, is not anything I want to relive.
No.
This is something we probably want to do 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. The next bit of news here is kind of crazy. We're getting more Street Fighter news. We got a lot more casting. So as you guys know, we already had Andrew Koji as Ryu, Roman Reigns as Akuma, Jason Momoa as Blanca, Noah Centineo as Ken. That's cool. But now we have 50 Cent as Balrog.
Hell yeah.
That to me is still crazy. Andrew Schultz is playing Dan Hibiki. I'm not familiar with this character in Street Fighter, so I'm sorry. And then we finally have our Chun-Li with Kalina Liang. I don't know what this movie is doing. We've got so many rumored casting announcements that we'll touch on in a second. But Nate, thoughts on this trio right here that's officially confirmed?
I mean, I'm cool with it. Andrew Schultz, I've listened to his podcast a lot. The character he's playing is supposed to be intentionally super, super annoying and like a loser. So I'm like, yeah, actually that works. I think he can pull that off. But the girl, Kalina Lane, she was just in the movie Presence, the Steven Soderbergh movie that came out earlier this year. And she was like the de facto lead of that movie. Mm-hmm. She was playing a high schooler in it. I guess she's actually 25. But she was very, very good in it. So I'm like, she's who I'm actually like genuinely excited. Like 50 Cent and Andrew Schultz, I'm like, okay, that feels like a meme. But like, she's perfect as Chun-Li. And if this movie works, it's like, okay, yeah, she's going to be a star from here on out.
Yeah, Chun-Li was one of the characters, not just because she's my main in Street Fighter, but she was one of the characters where it's like, I'm surprised she wasn't in the original casting announcements, because it's Ryu, Ken, Chun when you think about Street Fighter. And Cammy, who hasn't been cast yet either. So I'm interested. I haven't seen her in anything. All I know is she's going to have to hit leg day hard. Good luck to her. In 50 is that's just going to be funny because he's like a down on his luck boxer. So like, I don't know how big of a role. That's the thing about this film that's really weird to me. Street Fighter is a fighting game, we know, but I don't know what the through line story is going to be of this movie, because all of these characters have so many like of their own personal stories that can technically be like a short solo film or like a mini series, because Chun has so much going on in her life as well. How do you mesh all that together? Because we already had like the original 6 guys that we cast like a few weeks back. Then we're adding these 3. And now allegedly we're adding possibly Walton Goggins as M. Bison and Alan Richardson as Guile. What? And Eric Andre as the announcer. So I assume we're going to have a tournament, which makes sense. But I'm just hoping this doesn't become Mortal Kombat from like 2021. That's my fear.
I didn't mind that movie, and I feel like this movie is already kind of distinguishing itself from Mortal Kombat 2021. Like, that movie took itself very seriously, and the cast was, besides Hiroyuki Sanada, there's really no big name actors in that movie. This movie has like almost an A-list level cast. Like, this cast is insane, and I think the director they have, he has worked a lot with Eric Andre. I think they're going very comedic with this. Like, it's going to be campy. It's probably going to be like a D&D, Honor Among Thieves, Jumanji kind of.
That I can live with.
Comedy. Guardians of the Galaxy. Like that. Like, that's what I think this movie is going to be. And I'm fine with it. Like, this cast is insane. Would never have thought Andrew Schultz would be in a Street Fighter movie. That's weird, but I mean, it's Andrew Koji is such a great actor. I'm excited to see him as Ryu. I mean, and then who was the other one? We forgot. Orville Peck.
Oh yeah, as Vega.
That character always wears a mask. Orville Orville Peck always wears a mask. I actually kind of like his music, and I'm not a big country music person.
Yeah.
He's talented, but I'm like, don't do it. Because this could backfire very, very quickly. Like,
yeah.
But I'm looking forward. I am very, very curious with this cast they've assembled. Like, the first round of casting was already interesting to me, but I'm like, I still don't know if this is going to be like something I'm excited to see. Now I'm like, actually, no. I'm kind of excited just because it's just the weirdest freaking cast I've seen.
Yeah, it's so outrageous that I can't help but be intrigued. You know, like Street Fighter is not my fighting game of choice, even though I do know a lot of the characters and I have played a ton of it.
Are you a Dead or Alive fan then?
Dead or no. I'm very much a Tekken guy. But Tekken is another thing that you just can't adapt into anything. No. They tried to make it an anime. It was terrible. But Street Fighter, it's quirky and funny enough to where I think they can make something really cool with it. This cast is just bonkers. I'm here for it, though. I'm excited for these three. I'm glad we finally got Chun-Li. Like, there's not that many female characters in the roster, so it was still weird that it took that long for them to find, like, their main girl. But I'm glad we did.
Oh, we didn't really touch much on Alan Ritchson, though, as Guile, which... That's the one casting besides Andrew Koji that I'm like, holy crap, that's like perfect. Like,
yeah, that one's still in the rumor mill, hasn't been officially confirmed. But if he is playing Guile, Alan Richardson just being the monster of a man that he is, with the stupid Guile haircut going up like that is just going to be so ridiculous.
I want it. And you know they will do the hair. It's the guy who's worked with Eric Andre so many times. He would do the hair.
You can't do a guy without the hair. That's like his defining characteristic. And that's what's going to be so funny is if it's Alan Richardson, who's got to be like 6'6".
Yeah, something like that.
You give him like 3 inches of hair just going up. It's like this man's going to be like 6'8". It's just going to be so dumb.
It's going to be as tall as Blanca, probably. The CG Jason Momoa Blanca.
Yeah. I'm really excited for that cast, and like him and Walton Goggins, if they get attached, if they actually like join the cast of this film, It's just gonna be like insanity.
Yes. For our last story, we don't have a lot of details about it, but it was given an official announcement from Disney on June 26th, which was Thursday, 626 Day. You know what that means? Lilo and Stitch, the live action, it's gonna cross $1 billion any day or week now. And of course, they're doing a sequel to the live action. We don't know if any of the cast is returning. We don't know if the director, Dean Fleischer Camp, is returning. I think it's safe to assume they all will. We don't know the story or release date. If it's going to adapt one of like the direct-to-DVD sequels or the TV show, that's what I kind of hope. But after what you did with Jumba, I don't know if that will be it. But
yeah, we actually haven't talked Lilo and Stitch, I don't think. So we can just take a second to talk about the first film. Because it is getting a sequel. They're backed by popular demand, to quote our good friend Kermit. Lilo and Stitch is an interesting movie because this started out as a Disney Plus original, which I find so fascinating because can you imagine if they just dumped this on Disney Plus? And everybody watched it like first weekend. And now it's $1 billion movie, just like Moana 2. Crazy. Who knew? But we're spoiling Lilo and Stitch 2025. You guys somehow haven't seen it. I think everybody who actually did care has seen it. So just take a second. There's timestamps. You can jump.
You do not care about sport. If you were going to see this movie, you've seen the original movie. Okay? If you're over
they made changes.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're over the age of like 15 and you care about spoilers for a movie that's been out for over a month now, grow up. You can handle spoilers. You're lost.
You're lost, everybody. Just for that, we're taking the timestamps away. You're not going to be able to jump forward. No, but this movie's interesting because it does so much that the original film did, but then it just changes like very important details.
Yes.
Like we cut my boy Gatsu out of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, but then we just make Jumbo like the main antagonist for the film, which is like, in a vacuum, I'm okay with it. Like, if this was a standalone movie, I'm okay with it. But it does, like you were saying, kind of ruin the rhythm and the cadence of what the sequels and the TV show did, because Jumba and Pleakley were so important in those. Because I'm pretty sure the second movie is Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch has a glitch, right? And Jumba is important in that one.
Stitch the movie came out first.
Oh, God.
I
forgot about that one.
So confused. That was like the pilot for the TV show. And then but that takes place after Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch has a glitch. The timeline is very confusing on Lilo and Stitch.
I hate everything. Yeah, I'm looking now. Stitch the movie came out in 2003. Lilo and Stitch 2 came out in 2005. That is so stupid. Well, anyway, point being, Jumba is very important to Lilo and Stitch lore, and I can't believe it is 2025 and I'm here breaking down Lilo and Stitch lore.
Yay.
Which I love. This was like my favorite movie and show growing up as a kid. Like,
it was great. I mean, because I saw the movie, the live action with my mom, and like during the opening, my mom's like, she turned to me because, okay, we don't usually whisper during movies, but this was full of like kids that talk the entire time. So give her a break before you comment something. She was just like, this is literally, she's like, they're going like directly the original. Like, this is like scene for scene. I was like, wow, yeah, you're right. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, where's Gantu? I already knew that, but I have, I guess, an unpopular opinion where I like the movie. I told you this right after I saw it. With that final scene with Stitch deciding to stay with the family and them letting him, if you have that same exact scene played the same way, same dialogue, no matter what, if it was emotionally resonant then, it's going to be, especially like how heavy that scene is in the original, it's going to work again if you play it the exact same way. And it did. I was crying at the live action Lilo and Stitch movie that was fine. But like, I mean,
that's why I wanted to take a second to talk about it, because we haven't. And I want us to just kind of be a voice of reason for a second, because people will see the changes that this film made in a bubble, like on Twitter, or they'll be like, hey, they changed where Nani gives up Lilo at the end. It's like, that sounds bad if you didn't see the movie, but in the movie, it makes a lot more sense, because Nani's portrayed to be a lot younger. Like, she's about, I think she's like 19, right, in this film, compared to...
She's like 17, 18.
Whereas in the original, it felt like Nani was like 25.
Yeah.
Like, she was firmly an adult, whereas this version of the character, they're like, yeah, go to college. Go to college, come back. The neighbors are going to take care of Lilo and Stitch. It's fine. And she's got a portal gun where she can see them at any moment in time. So it's like,
really
right. In the context of the movie, it's fine. That change doesn't bother me. I do think this movie, it's very Stitch forward compared to the original. We're following Stitch a lot more than we are Lilo, like we did in the animated movie. And I think that makes for some uneasiness in the first act and the second act, because Stitch is just a hard character to like get that invested in when it's really just him most of the time.
But he's cute. I got invested.
He's cute, but then when we have that payoff, right? Because I'd also argue that Stitch is a little more evil in this one.
Yeah.
than he is in the original. So seeing him actually change makes that ending hit, I wouldn't say harder, but hit just as well, which is something the live action movies have never been able to do. They would always get close, or not close at all, but they would never match that level of emotion or heart. And I think that final scene that you were talking about matches the level of emotion from the first film. And so if they can bring that to 2, I'm interested. I'm wondering if 2 is adapting anything that we've already had, or if it's going to be like a Mufasa type of sequel where we're just doing our own thing.
I would assume it's probably going to follow more along the lines of Mufasa, but I don't know, because I feel like the TV show is more popular than even like the Lion King 2 Simba's Pride. Like, I think this movie's far more popular. Like the series, because it had multiple sequels. I feel like you kind of have to do. And you saw the other experiments in Jumbo's ship at the end. Like, they had Easter eggs to them.
Yeah.
Like, on a touch screen. So I would assume we're going to see the other ones. I don't know how they're going to work around Jumbo, who almost killed a little girl, turn good.
I will say you can't. I mean, maybe that's just the next movie is kind of his redemption arc. I will say in the original movie, Jumba and Pleakley just kind of flip. Well, Jumba, because Pleakley was kind of just there for the vibes anyway. Jumba kind of flips anyway, and it's like he's just on our side now, and we just kind of deal with it. So there was never like a clear moment where he does become good, because if he's an evil scientist at the start of the movie, there was really nothing that said, oh, he's now a good scientist at the end of the movie. And so maybe they can just play around with it.
Mm-hmm. I will say, as much as I didn't like Zach Galifianakis as Jumba, I kind of loved Billy Magnuson as Pleakley.
He made
me laugh. He made me laugh so much. I thought he was great.
I also wonder what the film looks like visually, because again, this was a made-for-TV movie that we put into theaters, you know?
Yeah.
Because like Jumbo and Pleakley looked a little wonky, and
Jumbo looks scary.
Yeah,
I'll say that. He kind of creeped me out.
They go out of their way to like allow them to be in human form for most of the movie to kind of work around it. But now it's $1 billion movie. The sequel's going to be in theaters. They're going to have a much bigger budget. I wonder what that means. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, okay, what are you going to do now?
Mm-hmm.
We spent way too much time talking Lilo and Stitch. I'm not going to lie. But it's fun. It's fun. I'm interested to see. I'm glad they announced it on 626 Day. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's cute. We got to talk about what's coming out this weekend, though. So
yes,
we've actually seen a surprising amount of things on this list for once. I know a couple times it's like, oh, I haven't seen it yet. So talk to me. F1.
I saw F1. Now it's almost been 2 weeks since I've seen it. I loved it. It is Joseph Kosinski, who did Top Gun Maverick. It is his follow-up to Top Gun. It's kind of like Top Gun Maverick, but in Formula One racing, and with Brad Pitt instead of Tom Cruise, and with Damson Idris instead of Miles Teller and Glenn Powell. The story itself, I mean, it's like a mentor-mentee kind of thing. Like, well, they work together. Like, the story is fine. It's whatever. But the racing sequences and just the way this movie is made is absolutely incredible. And it is one of the best movies of the year just for that. Because I have a thing where I have a motto. If a movie, like if the story is just, if it's a story we've seen so many times before, but it's done so well and done to perfection, you can forgive that. Because look, I'm on Twitter less now, but back in the heyday, I saw Twitter celebrating movies and I'm like, this story was dumb. But they're like, but it was so good. It was Inarritu, telling it to the critics. And I'm like, yeah, but the story was lame. I've seen it before. If you can celebrate those kinds of movies, you can celebrate F1. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend seeing it in an IMAX or a Dolby. The sound design and the cinematography are top notch. I mean, it really does feel like you're in the race car with them. And it really breaks down Formula One. For somebody who doesn't know really anything about it besides Lewis Hamilton and cars going fast, and Europeans love it, I didn't know much. And the movie really broke it down for me in a way I didn't expect it to. And it didn't just feel like exposition heavy. I think this movie's great. And yeah, go see it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I actually forgot that it already came out this weekend. I was surprised.
Making money.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad. Definitely need to go check it out in IMAX, but while I can, because I know it ain't gonna last long. Does Jurassic take IMAX this week, I think?
No, Jurassic isn't in IMAX. It's a weird thing.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
That's so strange. While we're talking about Jurassic, I guess I can jump into that right quick. I saw Jurassic. I've seen Jurassic World, Rebirth. It was the mystery movie at AMC and Marcus Theaters. It's a movie, guys. That's my biggest highlight for it. It's so strange because it picks up years after Jurassic World Dominion was the last one, I think.
Yeah.
We're following a new cast of characters: Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey. And you think that it would be fun with those three, but they kind of just are still very one note, and they're somehow more boring than Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard.
Lovely.
And it's like, how? Like they're very charismatic. Don't get me wrong. Like they do their best to elevate the material, but the material is still worse than some of the stuff we've had before. It's just another Jurassic World, really. Like I don't think it's significantly better than the last two. I would still put the first Jurassic World above this one. Unfortunately, I think the biggest problem that I have with this movie is the lack of dinosaurs. There's like a 45-minute window at the beginning of the film where you don't see dinosaurs. Yeah. It's sad because it's like, and I get part of the commentary of this film is that the humans don't find dinosaurs interesting anymore. And so we made mutant dinosaurs, and that was kind of the plot of the first one. And we kind of get back into that. And it's just kind of like, I don't care about the mutant xenomorph T-Rex thing. I thought that would have been cool. It wasn't as cool. There's one moment where we see the T-Rex show up, and I'm like, hell yeah, the T-Rex is back. And then he's gone. It's like, and now we're back to stupid mutant dinosaurs. And I kind of just wanted to see raptors and pterodactyls again. And it's like, let's not do this type anymore. As much as I do like Scarlett Johansson, I think there's something here that could have worked. They just didn't tap into it the way I needed to. And it gets worse every time I think about it.
Was the baby dinosaur cute at least? And does he get enough screen time?
He was cute. And I think he gets an adequate amount of screen time, all things considered. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
what I'm game for.
Yeah, he was adorable. And the kid who takes to him, that was cute. That's another thing. There's just too many humans. We have the main trio of actors, and then there's just this other family who's also stuck on the island.
It's the Lost World again.
Yeah. So go see it if you guys want to just have a fun popcorn flick, but I think you're better off watching F1. But are they better off watching Megan 2.0?
No.
Oh, no.
And this is coming from a unapologetic big fan of the first Megan movie. I was so excited for this. I was like, the trailers, I will say this. The movie is very similar to the trailer. It is not horror anymore. There's not really enough action to even call it an action movie. It's just like a sci-fi comedic thriller kind of thing.
I'm sorry. Hold on. They dropped the horror elements of this franchise.
Yeah,
oh my god!
It's not horror at all anymore. There's nothing remotely scary. That part is not in the movie with the guy in the Megan dress saying she's a smoking hot warrior princess. Not in the movie. Very, very disappointing because I thought that was funny. Yeah, it's the premise alone of just taking Megan, bringing her, resurrecting her, and having it be T2, but girl bossified. That's incredible. Like,
right.
Hell yeah. But I know this movie already had a significantly bigger budget than the first, because the first probably cost like under 10 mil. This, I think, cost like 20 mil. They need something bigger because the story they were telling was just not interesting in the slightest. There's funny moments. She sings a Kate Bush song, just like she sang Titanium in the original, the Sia song. That moment is like great. I laughed a lot at that. But it wants to also comment on AI and our obsession with it. But the way they go about it, I'm like, oh man, people are going to hate this. Yeah. Because it is not anti-AI. Like, I've heard people call like the Gareth Edwards movie, speaking of him, the creator, a pro-AI movie. It's like, obviously it's not. Robots are an allegory. But the robots were an allegory for the oppressed. Whether or not that's not like the greatest allegory, it's a little problematic. Whatever. This movie wants to comment on AI, and it turns to a place where I'm like, is this movie kind of pro-AI? Like, we need to be friends with AI?
It's
That's what it
possible.
becomes at the ending. And I was like, that's not what I like. But yeah, I was a huge fan of the first, and I don't know if it was my theater experience, because when I saw the first movie, it was a Thursday night, it's January. My theater was like full of gay men, and it was an incredible experience. Like, you cannot replicate that unless, and I'm like, hopefully, I'm seeing this on a Thursday afternoon. Hopefully, some gay men are here just to hype up the movie. No, it was a couple like my age who brought their 2-year-old kid, and then like his dad and his like 7-year-old and like 13-year-old, and then like
There's
2 other guys just there alone who are like me, being like, I'm kind of let down. I want like girl boss fun. This kind of sucks.
so many kids at this movie. No wonder they made it no longer a horror film.
Oh, it was always PG-13, and look, I'm not going to be one to comment on somebody's parenting. I'm not a parent, but at the same time, like, there's like 3 different kids movies playing right now. You have Lilo and Stitch. You have Elio. I don't know if Karate Kid is still in theaters. You have How to Train Your Dragon. It's like there's a lot of kids options.
That's valid. That's valid. I find it funny that you were talking about the handling of AI, because that gives me a chance, because I almost forgot. I need to talk about Ironheart.
Oh yeah,
Ironheart, guys, is the next Marvel series, the latest Marvel series, because 3 episodes are already out. 3 episodes come out this week for you. And the series will be done. 2-week drop. Kind of weird. Ironheart it's a mixed bag of a show. Like, Dominique Thorne is phenomenal. She's such a great lead. I really love Riri. I think the series is a little too dour at times, where the kid making an Iron Man suit in her garage should feel a little bit more fun, but instead she gets involved with the gang and she's got to fight mystical wizards and stuff. And it's like, I think we could have just simplified this a lot and just like embraced the talent we have in this show, and make it a little bit more fun. If you like the witchy side of Marvel, the Agatha, the WandaVision, that kind of stuff plays into this series. But it does really have a weird relationship with AI and Riri's AI, and it makes me uncomfortable. And I don't know if I see enough people talking about how the consciousness of a deceased friend is Riri's Jarvis. And it's like, that's weird. That's kind of weird. If you can look past that, though, I do think people will enjoy it. The last episode is something. So we'll talk about that when that airs. It's the end of phase 5, I believe.
yep,
Phase 6 starts with Force Stick 2.0.
yeah. I mean, I'm never gonna see it. Probably. There's just too many other shows I want to watch right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'll probably watch that final episode because you told me some things, and I'm like, I want to see that.
You got to see what happens. There's a thing that happens, and the actor in it is great. Have you seen The Bear season 4?
I've only seen season 1 of The Bear.
I haven't gotten into The Bear season 4 yet either. I love the series. Apparently, this season is better than the last. I know season 3 was kind of a letdown for some people. So that's good that people are enjoying it, but we'll have to come back. I mean, I guess I'll come back. I know you're too far behind.
Watching season 2 right now. This is a quick show to watch. I mean, I watched season 1 in like 2 days.
I watched season 1 on a plane. Like, I got through the entire season like in my round trip. So it was yeah.
It's a quick binge, and I've won it because I love the first season so much. I kept starting season 2, and then I got distracted by other things. So finally gonna give it a shot now. Not even a shot. I just want to watch it.
Yes.
It was already great. Apparently this is the final season of The Bear.
Wow.
So
they didn't announce it that way, did they?
No, they didn't. But Chris Storer, the creator and director of the show, he was like, I really just want to do 3 seasons. But FX was like, no, the show is huge. You got to do 4 seasons. And that's why we got season 3 like that. And they shot this semi back-to-back with season 3.
So. Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, we're gonna have to just do like a proper chatter after review of The Bear, because I didn't know this was the final season. But yeah, that's exciting. The Bear is a show that I have to be careful with because it is so good at channeling Carmi's anxiety to the point where I almost have a panic attack watching this show.
Yeah, that's kind of why I stopped with season 2, because I was like, this is too much.
Like, I'm feeling my chest getting tight. Like, I know this is fictional, but I am getting way too much like anxiety from watching this show. So like, I get you taking a break. I also have to take like massive breaks between episodes just to like calm down and like get back into it. That just shows that they know what they're doing, because they really channel all that like anxiety into this series. But that's it for everything you guys should be watching this weekend. You guys have a holiday weekend, so go to the movies, enjoy it. There's so much stuff playing, and then we will be back next week. Nate, glad to be back. Where can the folks find you?
You can find me across most social media platforms at Nate Knows Movies. You can find me at Letterboxd at just at Nate Richard, and on Instagram at Nate Richard 98.
You guys can find me at Novice Cinephile everywhere except for Instagram. It's the Novice Cinephile. And here on the channel, we're still in the summer of Superman. If you guys missed our previous dives into Superman on film, we did Superman the movie, Superman Returns, Man of Steel. You guys really have some strong opinions on Man of Steel. We appreciate it. And this week, we're diving into Superman 2025. So we do a breakdown of the trailers as we get into it, because the next video after that will be Superman, the review. That's going to be fun. So check that out. And until next time, guys, keep watching movies.
Bye.